Hi, I'm Lori Butler, and this is my Hometown Voices story. I grew up in Greenville. I moved here when I was a little short of being 6 in July of 70, I think. And I had the opportunity to go to Crockett Elementary School, and there wasn't anything better than going to Crockett Elementary School. We would walk to school, and there are just so many things. We lived on a street called Alpine, and there were a lot of neat young kids at mine and my sister's age that grew up on that street, and we could go down way at the end of that street, and old drive-in movie theater was there, and we could let creep up at the back and turn the volume up and sit there, and we could, in the field, we could watch those old movies, and that was just amazing, and I loved that. Also, when I first moved to Greenville, we would come to the movies, and we would come downtown Greenville to the Texan, and those movies, there's nothing like watching a movie in the Texan back when it was in its original being. Also, I can remember as a young kid going out to Graham Park, and when my mother would take us to Graham Park, it was just wonderful because with all of the different swings, the slides. You also had the putt-putt golf course there. And they never wanted me to play putt-putt because I always hit it too hard and go over the fence, and they'd get mad. But we loved going to Graham Park. I also remember that you always stay. I hate that children and kids today do not get to grow up in the world that we grew up in, because your parents left you outside, and you went outside and you played, and the lights went off when it got dark, and you knew it was time to come in. Your parents didn't have to call for you, then lights went off. But also another thing about that is if you got in trouble over on a one or two streets over, those parents could come out and they could spank your bottoms and take you home, and you'd get it again. But we had so much fun. I can remember, and a lot of people are now asking you to write in and tell them that if your parents let you run through the fog machine, and what the fog machine is for you kids that don't know, it is, they would come and they would spray, and this fog would come out, and we'd ride our bikes, we'd jump through it, and our parents would even call us to come to it because they'd hear it coming, and so we would run through the fog machine, and we loved that. Now people are saying we probably have cancer because of it, but who knows? We didn't have cell phones, which now we have, but I think that we were better off not having the technology that we have today. It was a simpler life, and it was a more trusting world, and you could let your kids, you didn't have to worry about strangers coming up to them. I also remember always, from the time we moved to Greenville, we always went to the Band and Flash floor show, just to see the girls and to see all the dancing. And I remember every time that the Band and Flash floor show came about, it was almost like Greenville closed up. There wasn't anything going on. Everybody went to the floor show. You had to have it in early spring because there wasn't any air conditioning in that old gym, and those windows had to be open, and you couldn't turn fans on in there because it drowned out the music. So that was wonderful. I can remember going out I don't know the name of the little lakes, but they're now the lakes that the city has. And we would go out there and go fishing. Not that I ever liked it, because I hated fish, but we would go up there and we would go fishing, or we'd get in the drains and we'd go crawdad fishing. That was the best, I think. And who could get the biggest crawdad, and you'd pull them up through that, and then of course you try to take them home, and your parents would make you go back and put it back down in the drain. We would pull clover and make outlines of houses and make your own little house out of clover. But growing up in Greenville was just amazing. I loved every aspect of it. There are just so many stories, like going out to the Hunt County Fair. When the Hunt County Fair rolled around, the whole town shut down. Basically, and you were out there, and they had different groups performing, different groups, dunking booths, all types of things, and of course the Midway. You couldn't wait to get out to the Midway. It was amazing. We also went to the YMCA. I don't think the kids have, I mean, you have sports, but it's so daggum competitive. Ours were more back like the Sandlot days. I mean, you got out there and you played and you had fun. And if you went to the Y, you always went to Queen Anne's, which was across the street. And what I would give for Queen Anne's to be back open, to go back in there for one more time. But I always had to take my own ketchup because she'd only give you 2 squirts, and that was it. You got 2 squirts, and if you got any more, boy, she'd run you out of there real fast because you were not going to eat her ketchup. That was amazing. Going to the Dairy Dart out by Graham Park. That was also, kids just don't really have no idea of what, that would have been considered fast food, but I don't really think that it was. It was, to go to the Dairy Dart, and we always got chicken fingers at the Dairy Dart. Those were amazing. Miss Myers, there's nothing like a Miss Myers hamburger on the end of Lee Street. It was, I mean, just, and here I am talking about food, and so as you can tell, I love to eat. But those are the things about Greenville that make me so proud of our community. I have come back after going off to college, and I've come back and I teach at the high school. I'm also the flash director, and I love every aspect of it. And the kids always want to talk about how they can't wait to grow up, and I'm like, you have the rest of your life to have a job, to do something. And but kids are in such a hurry now. I wish that every child had the opportunity to grow up somewhere like I did in Greenville, Texas, because like I said, I could go on and on about one story after the next, but that's my voice for Greenville.
This video has been brought to you by Juice 34. Juice is your community-owned provider for electric, internet, cable TV, and true local programming.